Hey Slingers, welcome back to another Wordslinger podcast. This is going to be another Solo Slinger episode. I don't think you're going to want to miss it. I think there's some stuff that I think you'll be interested in. So stick around for that. I'll see you on the other side.
It's the Wordslinger podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Well, I am Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger, and I'm happy to have you here. This has been an interesting couple of weeks, interesting few weeks. We've had now it's been a couple of weeks now. I think since an attempted assassination on a former president. That's been alarming. The fallout from that has been something to behold. Don't know what your political persuasions are. I'm a little right-leaning, little conservative. I consider myself a centrist, but I have friends on both sides of the aisle. I was watching some good friends of mine on Facebook were posting their new, I guess their new, not a headshot, but their profile pictures. They were switching to a photo of Kamala Harris and saying, "I am with her." And there's been some fallout from that. People unfriending, unfollowing, saying nasty things, rude comments. That's a little alarming to me. I don't like that. I don't support Trump. I don't support Kamala Harris. I don't support Biden. I don't like these people, but I don't wish death on anybody, and I don't think that whether I support them or not should make any difference in whether or not you and I are friends, whether or not we care about each other and help each other. It's a little alarming to see the number of people who wish that shot had been just a little to the right. That's shocking to me. So hope you're not like that. But I will say one of the things that's happening in my life right now is a kind of shift. I used to be very vocal about a lot of things. I think a lot of people found that off-putting. I'm not changing that because of those people, but I do understand where they're coming from. But I am changing it because I have as a Christ follower, there's a passage that says, blessed are the peacemakers. That's one of the Beatitudes. And, that's the idea is you should be the one who is an advocate for peace, who is diplomatic, who doesn't create strife. So that's what I feel kind of called and led to do. So that's what I'm going to do. But I've also had, this past year has had a number of humbling moments for me. So, it's changed my perspective on some things. So I've been, retooling. I'm kind of tired of the scene, the whole political scene. I'm exhausted by it, so I'm shifting away from all that stuff. Trying to stop making any comments that definitely don't want to inflame people. There was a time in my life where I'd say things. Sometimes I'd say things that I knew were going to get people riled up, and there's a weird sort of dark attitude that comes with that. So this is not meant to be a political episode or anything, but I feel like, how can I not comment on some of what's happening? When Joe Biden sort of disappeared for several days there, and he was reported to be sick. I don't really know what to believe in anything at this point, but I prayed for Joe, and I'm praying for all our leaders, really. I may not like these people. I don't like these people. I have serious issues with some of the things that these people do, and the things that the way they attack each other and that sort of thing. I had too much divisiveness. You've heard that before. Just a lot of animosity. So I'm trying to take a new tack and just say, look, I'm praying for all these people. They all need it. We all need it. I want the best possible person in the role of governing the country and making the decisions that impact my life and the lives of those I love, and I want them to be healthy and strong and have a good mind and a good heart. So that's what I'm praying for. So moving on from politics, let's talk other controversial things. Like so far, I've talked politics and religion. I've almost got the trifecta. But so the past week or so, for a couple of weeks now, man, I've had a little bit of anxiety and some trouble. Now I've been learning how to deal with that in the past. I'll have these moments of up and down. So I've started kind of seeking out some help on that because it just got bad. I'm not going to share a lot of personal details, but what I want to do is if you are dealing with things, like sometimes it does help to go and find someone to talk to and work with. I have all kinds of hang-ups about that sort of thing. I don't know why. But I've started talking to somebody. And it's just yesterday. I mean, but I've got friends that I turn to and people that I turn to. I don't want to burden everybody all the time, and I'm trying to have a positive attitude and probably be, a positive influence in their lives and learn to listen. But it's got me, retooling a lot of what I'm doing. This stuff has started to impact the writing. Like I was trucking along, and then suddenly it was sort of, I start to dread sitting down to the page. I've never done that in my career. So if you're experiencing that, I hope that you are seeking people out. If you need somebody, reach out to me. I'll try to do what I can. But there's probably people who know you better. Probably people who can, relate to you in whatever you're doing. Just don't be alone. That's what I'm learning. I kind of, here I am in this office most of the day, every day. It's a beautiful place. It's an inspiring place at times. Most of my interaction with humans is like this. More two-way sometimes, Zoom calls and things like that. But there is something to be said for getting out and going and finding people and just kind of sitting down, having a cup of coffee or a meal and, shooting the breeze and getting to know each other and, fellowshipping with each other. So I'm looking to do a lot more of that. My wife and I are actually going to attend something. She's part of a group. It's a women's group she's joined, but they have like these every month or so they'll do this like couples night. So we're going to go hang out with the couples. So this is weird because sometimes I feel dread about that, sort of social anxiety sometimes. That's a sign I've been sitting in this office too long. So getting better. I'm working on it. But one of the things I decided I needed to do was find a hobby. And so I love reading, and I used to love playing video games, but I now it's like if I'm sitting down to play this, so we don't have consoles. All my consoles are decades out of date at this point. I've never. We've talked about getting a new one, something new. Haven't done that yet. Maybe we'll get a Christmas gift or something, But that's not that. The point of it is like I need something that at a certain point in the day I can allow to distract me from everything else. I've gotten real bad about that. I make a joke all the time that all my hobbies become careers, which is true. I used to, I got into like art and design, and that was enjoyable, but then I started using that all the time in my work, and I got in writing I don't really consider to have ever been a hobby. It was always the work of my heart, but it used to be sort of a relaxing activity I'd do after I left my day job or whatever, and or before I'd go. And then it became the career, and I love my writing career, but there's moments where right now I'm having what I call a Maslow deficiency. Some of my, if you know the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, some of my needs aren't quite being met. It's largely my responsibility, but because of that, I'm starting to stress so much that it's impacted the writing and slowed me down. So time to find something. Love to read, but that starts to feel like work too. I'll have some dread while I'm reading. used to listen to a ton of audiobooks, but I don't drive much anymore because, I don't need to. Um, haven't for quite a while. Um, I like driving, but I can only go so far in a day, and then I start to feel like, maybe I should stop and do some work. So there's caveats to everything. But so one thing that came up, and there's a guy named Bo, and I think he can't remember if he lives in New Zealand or Australia, and I can't remember his last name off the top of my head right now. Wish I could, and I'll try to remember to put a link to his channel in the show notes. I really love this guy. Like he's kind of an adventurer. He's a filmmaker, and like he's done a lot of these. He does a lot of YouTube stuff, and he does it in a very documentary style. So I love the guy. He's hilarious. He's got some books. I wish I had more. More details. I should have written something down, but I'll try to put some. I cannot remember his last name for some reason, but I really like the guy. He reminds me a lot of, there's a lot of people I've known in my life that are like him, but he's very like high spirited and energetic and very sort of, do it yourself. He's some of his videos, he's done some projects that are just patently insane to me at times, but just very enjoyable. Very genuine and authentic character. But one of the things he does, he's done 2 videos on this now. He calls it Finding Money in Roundabouts, I think is the way he calls it. So he goes to these roundabouts and he just walks around and he finds, coins, and he finds discarded tools and parts and screws and bolts and, forks and knives and and unfortunately, sometimes, half-eaten apples, which he decides to eat, and dubious-looking bottles of soda and drinks that he decides to consume. So there's some things I am not going to add to my hobbies, but for years I've done something I call money walking, and I haven't done it in a couple of years now because once we got off the road and like some of my opportunities to do that have been diminished. If I'm sitting in the house all day, I'm not out, doing that. And it was a lot more convenient when we lived across the street from, grocery stores and gas stations and coffee shops and stuff. But my whole approach was to take walks, keep my eyes out, alert for like coins and things. Very lucrative hobby, but because I think one year I counted it up and I had like $78 in found money over a year of just walking. And it's amazing how often you find significant money on the ground in certain places. So that was always fun. It was good exercise. It was a good chance to get out. I usually did that early in the mornings, but I would, sometimes do it later in the day. And so I'd get a little sunshine. It was a very therapeutic thing. So I'm gonna do that again. I really enjoyed watching him do it, and I find useful things all the time. So that's going to become part of that too. Maybe that doesn't sound appealing to you. It's just something I like. But I commented on this guy's video, and someone responded saying, "Well, where do you go?" And I told him the places I go, and that person responded and said, "You should get a metal detector." Carry a metal detector with you, and it sparked my brain because several years ago, before we got on the road, as a Christmas gift, my wife Kara gave me a metal detector, and for whatever reason, I just never ended up using it. We carried it with us the whole time. She was always like, "When are you going to use it?" And I think she was disappointed because she thought because I had talked about it and she thought I'd really enjoy it. I think I would have. I think for some reason I let myself get intimidated because, sometimes you can get yelled at and told to leave and things like that. And I don't know. I don't know why, but I dug it out and it's in pristine condition after like 4 or 5 years. Because it's been in this little bag and it's still, everything works and it looks great. So I am going to kind of get that. I'll just leave it in the Bronco, and my hobby is going to be like go and find places to, money walk, use the metal detector. So, and there we go. Like, that's an opportunity for some exercise, get out, fresh air, get the, get a little sunshine, maybe find valuable things. I like that part. I like money. That's not the point of it. I mean, one of the interesting sort of side benefits is that it's not like I can pop my earbuds in and just, maybe I can, but I mean, I have to hear the beeps, right? So I can't allow my hearing to be blocked. So it's sort of a meditation at that point, right? Like, I'm going to be focused on the moment, hoping I find something, but being okay with not finding something. It's a little bit like going fishing, but you're walking the whole time. I think that's a good analogy. So, no one gets harmed, no one gets hurt. Leave places better than you found them. That's going to be my hard and fast rule. I'm going to carry a little spade with me to do a little digging. Carry a bag with me to kind of drop some treasures in, and just have some fun with it. So, and maybe if I want to add an extra layer to this, I'm a very solo person, but maybe there's someone I can like join and tag along with, or tag along with me, who would enjoy the same hobby. So, hobbies, very important. I don't have any. So, I can't play video games for some reason. I get anxious. Like, if I'm sitting in front of this screen, I should be producing something. You can't produce all the time. At some point, you have to refill the bucket. You just can't keep pouring out. You gotta, at some point, you actually have to refill. It's the sharpen the saw. It's the sharpen the axe. It's refilling your cup. It's, all those things are important to you. I've let all that diminish. You should not. You shouldn't do that. You should actually allow yourself to have some fun, have some time away from the screen. It's hard when you feel like you're not being as productive as you should be. But it's that irony, right? That whole story of the sharpen your axe, and it's a little apocryphal, but let's see if I can remember the details. I believe it was Abraham Lincoln, who said, no, if I get this wrong, I apologize, but the gist is this. But, Lincoln had said that if he were given 6 hours to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And so that gets used all the time in the self-help world and the entrepreneur world. Let's do this as authors and creatives as well, because, it's the preparation shortens the effort. Sometimes it shortens the time frame as well. So, what we do as writers is process the world around us. We observe, and then we contemplate, and then we express. And that is kind of our role. And you may not be a writer. Maybe you're an entrepreneur or some other creative, and welcome. I've long wanted to shift the focus of the show to a broader perspective. I've got a pretty eclectic audience, but mostly writers at this point. And you are also welcome, and I love you all. But if you're going to do this work, this is what I'm learning, so I'm sharing it with you. You have to spend some time on yourself, some self-maintenance. Talk to people when you're feeling stressed. Find something that distracts you so that you are... Distracted may be the wrong word. Find something that allows you to go out and have some experiences. And you may not write about these things. I'm certain that metal detectors and finding money will find their way into a story or a book somewhere along the way. But it's more important to kind of be out in the world. It's those chance encounters with things that feed you as a writer. We are soil in that way. Like, we are loam, we are fertile ground. our nutrients can be used up if all we ever do is produce crops. So we need, to re-add those nutrients to our soil, and the fertilizer of a creative's world is experience. So, all right. I'm glad we got away from politics to get to that, because I think that's a much healthier thing. I know things are crazy. Things are going on in the world right now, and I've let a lot of that impact me in negative ways. I've got some personal challenges that have impacted me, but it's interesting to me that I'm starting to see more and more people that I care about hitting levels of success and accomplishment, unexpected twists and turns happening in their lives, and big things are happening for them. A lot of it is very hard work on their part. I'm thrilled for all these people. I'm thrilled for all these friends and family. There is a moment sometimes where you feel sort of a slap to the face when you've been working so hard on something and somebody achieves it and you don't. But that is a growth opportunity as well. It's a chance to explore. Like, I want to be grateful on behalf of those people, because I would want people to be grateful on behalf of me. So as I'm growing, I'm going to try to share more of that stuff. So, but anyway, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. It's probably a short episode, frankly. Well, it is a short episode because I don't have an interview. I enjoy doing interviews, but I think sometimes it's good to just have these chats. These are my little fireside chats. And I want to be someone who enriches the industry, enriches the creatives and the entrepreneurs watching. Like, I want to be the fertilizer, part of the fertilizer. You can call me fertilizer. And all the implications of that for your soil, and give you something that's going to inspire you, encourage you. That's the goal. So I hope that you do take that sort of thing from the show and from what I'm doing. There's a lot going on, a lot of shifts and changes. So many, man, the indie publishing world has seen some pretty epic changes over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And some of which I don't feel comfortable commenting on, but I've talked to some of the principal key players in some of these things, and there's a lot of negative stuff out there, but what I'm seeing is a lot of positive coming out of it, unexpectedly sometimes, and that's what we live for. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. So I am one of the hosts alongside JD Barker for the Writers Inc. podcast, which is a phenomenal show for writers. I hope that you are tuning in. If you're not, there's going to be a link in the show notes. WritersIncPodcast.com is where you can find it, but you can just search Writers Inc. INK on Writers Inc. podcast, or Writers Inc. on your favorite podcast tool. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Great show. The episode coming up for Monday. Now this I'm talking to you on technically Thursday, but and maybe I'll release this episode early. I did that last week, but the Thursday before that episode goes live for Writers Inc., we're actually going to record our part of that here in about 3 hours. But I interviewed Daniel Silva as one of my inspirations. Actually, here's what's funny. I love the guy. I've read several of his books now. When I first started writing thrillers, he was one of my comps. He was one of the writers that people compared me to. And I don't think my writing style and the way I handle story is quite as sleek as the way he does it. I do enjoy what he writes, and I love his characters. I hope I'm living up to that standard, but if you like my stuff, you're going to love his stuff. But definitely tune in for that interview. It's a great chat, and a lot for writers in particular to learn from. But even if you're not a writer, even if all you want is to be, if you're a creator in some other capacity, that his main character, Gabriel Alon, is a former spy and assassin, but he's an art restoration guy, so there's a lot of metaphor in those books because of that. He uses art restoration as a metaphor for his stories. So remarkable if you haven't read anything by him. But go check that out. But go check out the Writers Inc. podcast. Me and JD and Christine and Jenna, we're all the current hosts, and we have a great time. It's great camaraderie and a lot to learn. So I think you'll enjoy it. And of course, if you're enjoying the Wordslinger podcast, well, thank you for that. I hope you're enjoying it. Make sure you're sharing it. Like, share, subscribe, all the things the little graphic that just popped up told you to do. Comment, because comments tell YouTube that you're engaged. If you're not on YouTube, you can hop on over to YouTube and comment. I realize that a lot of people are kind of forced to engage with the podcast on podcast platforms because you're listening while you drive or while you cook or whatever. I appreciate that. If you don't mind, I would appreciate it even more if you'd go to YouTube and click subscribe. I'm trying to grow that channel. Share it with people. But I'd love to hear what your comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And that's going to do it. Hope you have a blessed weekend coming up, and hope you have a blessed week following that, and blessed days ever after. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the other side. Actually, I'll see you next time. Take care.
Wordslinger.